This is a Naya Devoted Druid combo deck that's playing a few cards from the streets of New Capenna. The big one here is Rocco, Cabaretti, Caterer. Wait, this card is called Cabaretti Caterer? Okay, they knew that this card worked well with Asmo, if it's got Caterer in the name. But, Rocco Cabaretti Caterer is 3 mana, 3/1 with X kicker, basically. And when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you can search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield and shuffle. So for 0 mana, you can get an Asmo. And beyond that, there's actually like a lot of interesting overlap with the Asmo Cookbook package, Rocco, and Devoted Druid, where when you're playing the Asmo Cookbook package, you are wanting to play Urza Saga. Urza Saga also finds you your Viridian Longbow and your Luxior as combo pieces for Devoted Druid, where Luxior gives you infinite mana with Devoted Druid, new equipment, and the Viridian Longbow gives you infinite damage when you're comboing with Druid. And then obviously Rocco works well with Asmo, but Finale of Devastation has been a staple in Devoted Druid combo decks, where this card not only grabs you your Devoted Druid or your Vizier, or gives you a win condition when you have infinite mana, but this card is also 2 mana grab an Asmo. And so like really raising the floor on Finale of Devastation is really interesting to me, where all of a sudden it's actually a really good turn 2 play, where in the past it's been, a pretty underwhelming turn 2 play. And then Rocco is also not only good at grabbing you your Asmo, but on turn 5 when you have Devoted Druid, on turn 3 when you have Devoted Druid, you actually have 5 mana, and theoretically you can sink that 5 mana into Rocco to grab a Vizier, and then boom, you have infinite mana. And then you can also if you have infinite mana, you can cast Rocco, grab Stoneforge Mystic, grab Viridian Longbow, and then deal infinite damage with Devoted Druid. So I've spent a long time working on this deck. It finally came together. Especially after talking to Tunneling Cat on stream recently about the list. I'm very excited for this, though. Okay. Pretty good hand. Delta. Ragavan, Mox Amber. So we're playing against the Underworld Breach deck with a very strong first turn. I feel like we can afford to get basic planes. It's possible we to get Temple Garden so we could go turn 2 Finale for Asmo. This feels like more of a combo hand. Turn 1 Asmo Lightning Bolt into turn 2 Urza. What the hell? This is unfair. Got an exciting new deck. We can technically kill turn 2, but my opponent had turn 1 Ragavan, Lightning Bolt, turn 2 Urza. I've never seen that before. Brutal. Game 2, fuck. Sorry, I'm doing a CAPTCHA for MTG Goldfish. This is my 3rd CAPTCHA in a row, just to upload the deck list. And I didn't put a deck name here, so now I have to do CAPTCHA again, maybe? No. Can a mod please update the current deck command with this list? Let me sideboard, I'll do the deck. Okay, we're playing against maybe just blue-red Urza. I'm going to bring in the Liberator, the Hedge-Mage, maybe Boseiju, maybe not Boseiju, maybe Needle, maybe not Needle. Yeah, probably cutting the Kaldra here. Cutting the Shadow Spear. Maybe I want the Givers. They're playing all these bolts. Maybe do 61 card special. No. 60 card special. I guess this is like just a fine Asmo hand, or we can Eldarmy's Call for our Daredevil. Yeah, I think I just want to Eldarmy's Call for Daredevil. Maybe Rocco next turn. Stoneforge do enough. Stoneforge is your... You could trim some Stoneforges. But Stoneforge is still the win condition when you have infinite mana to grab your Viridian Longbow. Okay, and then we get Duck Tag 5 months. Appreciate you. I mean, IDK if I'm sold in the red cards. Okay, well, IDK if maybe just, you know, watch a little bit. At least, like, you know, maybe you don't have to be sold on the red cards. I think you should probably understand, though, that this archetype has been pretty underpowered for a while, right? The Devoted Druid archetype, and so at the very least, like, there's a lot of overlapping synergy between Rocco, Asmo, Wrenn and Six, and like what's going on here. And Rocco's a very strong card when it's grabbing you your Asmo like this. So an update on the Mono Red Fires deck. Interesting. So I only have 2 cookbooks in the deck because I don't think you necessarily need more. We're like, you also not, you know. Oh, was I actually supposed to finale X equals 3 here to get Hedge-Mage? What, Dried Arbor to ramp with Rocco? So we've talked about that already. My question is to you, in what situation are you going to get Dried Arbor off Rocco and that you wouldn't get an Asmo instead? Because in my opinion, the only time you would ever take that line is when you have Do I want to Boseiju the Urza Saga after they make a token? But in my opinion, the only time you take the line is when you already have an Asmo in play, which is just like not often enough for me to want Dried Arbor. I also say this a lot too, but you know, you guys are the one that get to suggest that I put. Yeah, I should stop them from getting Needle. You guys are the ones that get to suggest Dried Arbor, and I'm the one that has to draw Dried Arbor and have it be like a game-losing draw step. You know what I mean? You don't need to kill the Construct yet. I don't like Chandra Awaken Inferno very much. You could maybe sideboard it. I wouldn't recommend it. I think I may prefer a 1/3 split of Spikefield Hazard Awakening. I like Awakening a lot as well. And then I think I wanted to play 4 Strangle, but you're main decking 1 Anger, 1 Strangle, then Chandra. I think I just want to play 4 Strangle, then sideboard the Angers. Just like 3 Angers on the side. I don't think I necessarily like the Fries so much. Where like I'm not worried about Narset, I'm not worried about Niv, and then like instant speed removal is like less good in the Fires deck anyways, and Anger is really good against Winota and Mono Green. Yeah, so I wanted to be 3 Angers on the side, cutting the Fries, 4 Strangles main, cutting the Chandra, the Angers, and then probably I'm kind of like the 1 Spikefield Hazard, but don't necessarily love it. It's fine. Can't think of the 11 months. Appreciate ya. The monkey now. Four cards in my opponent's hand. White mana. Okay, grinding station. Getting Finale Execute 2 seems relevant to get Arbor off Rocco. Helps combo next turn, makes sense in my opinion. I think your opinion's fine. Obviously, you know, this is a classic question of power level versus versatility. Most deck building decisions do revolve around this decision point of versatility versus power level. I cut my Kaldra. I might have gotten a Stoneforge Mystic if I didn't. I think I just get Outland Liberator. The problem is, of course, I didn't bring in my Drannith Magistrate either. Maybe I should have brought that in. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like Dried Arbor lowers your deck's power level, increases your deck's versatility. Or sorry, increases versatility, lowers power level. And I feel like it's not worth the trade. But if you disagree, then play the Dried Arbor. How do I not die to Underworld Breach? I guess how would be to have boarded in the Drannith Magistrate. But I'm just going to grab my Outland Liberator. Any thoughts starting Yorion? You could play Yorion, but the problem is like you really want to naturally draw Devoted Druid. It's like so much worse to tutor for it. Okay, iteration, not Underworld Breach. Big win. What's her payoff for infinite mana? Viridian Longbow. Viridian Longbow attached to Devoted Druid is infinite pings. So with infinite mana, you can Rocco, or Finale also kills with infinite mana just by giving +X/+X. But Rocco finds Stoneforge, finds Longbow. Or Eldarmor's Call finds Stoneforge, finds Longbow. Although you need, extra white mana for that. Where did they sack just now? So they have to have a lightning bolt here. Okay, they're just dead. Yorion blinking Rocco to get Asmo doesn't work. You have to cast Rocco to get the Asmo. Yeah, I've spent like a month working on this list. It's taken a long time. Okay, so we also didn't know for sure that they were Underworld Breach, right? When we were sideboarding. So now we definitely want the Pithing Needle. I think I'm okay cutting the second Stoneforge Mystic. Maybe it could be okay cutting a Vizier. To bring in the Drannith Magistrate. Magistrate also stops them from casting their spell off iteration. Does it stop anything else? Not much else. I maybe should be playing... Let me actually cut the third Asmo for like the third Giver. Maybe cut a Finale or a Rocco on the draw as well. Obviously still trying to figure things out. Endurance is fine. This is my first league with this deck. This is my first league with this deck on stream. I think I was 4-1 last night playtesting. Changed a couple things. You could play one Endurance. I don't know. I guess it's good for the Eldarmor's Call, actually. Yeah, we should have Endurance. I forgot Eldarmor's Call for it. Stops the combo. Obviously, still trying to figure things out. The idea of Asmo is splash. It only took 2 quick, yeah, exactly. Just kind of like a little bit of a package in a deck with a lot of tutors. I'm not sure if you want to be playing 3 or 2, but playing 3 last game was pretty relevant. Okay, Hedge-Mage. Hedge-Mage just should be pretty good in this matchup. We kind of need a land. Definitely a slow draw. I think I'm going to keep. On the draw. I also boarded in my Boseiju, so I have like 2 extra lands too this game. Oh, Wrenn just kind of makes this hand, huh? Wrenn also plays really well with Cookbook Asmo because you can just discard lands, return lands. Okay, then Hedge-Mage can deal with the Saga, hopefully. I guess I will grab my Triome so my opponent doesn't hit it with Ragavan. Oh, sorry. This is I didn't put Naya Triome in my deck. It's supposed to be like the secret lair version. This is Jetmir's Garden. Okay, only 1 cookbook left in the deck now. They might cast it. What's the plan B of the deck? Turn Sios, Rocco, Asmo. Yeah, Rocco, Asmo, Urza Saga beatdown. Kaldra, Stoneforge Mystic. Gotta get the Wrenn and Six down this turn, I think. The next turn, I think we're gonna cast Duergar Hedge-Mage to blow up Urza Saga and then whatever, maybe just the treasure token, but other artifact. Need to get a Sacred Foundry, I guess, or Stomping Ground. I think I've been like choked on white mana a few times. I think I'm getting Sacred Foundry. I've like had this card on my radar for so long. It's been very, very few times I've played this card in my deck, but this is a 3-mana 2/2, and there's battlefield if you control 2 or more mountains, you destroy an artifact. 2 or more plains can destroy an enchantment. So the Triome is also like, helps you meet this card's very odd requirements. We don't want to use Wrenn. I've plus the Wrenn already. Oh, minus Wrenn on the Saga token. Yeah, that would have been better. Giver of Runes is actually pretty scary. But if they sack... Yes, sweetheart. If they play this, I can ping the construct now.
Hey, where's the drill?
I think it's in here. You're probably taking it.
Yeah.
It's on here. It's got to be in the addendum.
Okay.
If it's not down there, come yell at me, I guess. Okay, so I guess we're gonna go Rocco for Asmo, ping the construct, then Boseiju this for 1 mana. Getting into the land is rough, but this puts us really ahead on board, and then the explosives was going to be kind of a pain. So I've Wrenn and Six Boseiju now. Yeah, casting 2 Devoted Druids this turn may not have been bad either. I think this line's good too. Okay, do you have a backup Asmo in the hand? Weird to see see that just chilling in play with the 1 damage on it. Rocco. I did trim an Asmo, so I'll have to keep that in mind for my next Rocco. They bolt me down to a humble 4 life. I'm actually dead to Dash Ragavan plus another Lightning Bolt. They're not immediately taking this line. I feel like I'd be dead if they had it. Okay. Fuck. Basic Plains. Looking pretty awkward here. We do have Cookbook Asmo though. I'm probably supposed to keep on the draw. Okay, Asmo was pretty good against Amulet. We need to draw, I think, any non-Saga... No, I guess we've got some green lands in the deck. Draw fetch land. Not exactly a fetch land. I think I play this, because if I draw a green source next turn, I'm going to want to play turn 2 Devoted Druid, and then I can get Longbow on turn 3 and potentially win. How is this a keep? We're on the draw. We have Cookbook Asmo. We have Urza Saga. Any land like makes this hand very keepable. I think this hand is like easily keep on the draw on the blind even. Like even an Urza Saga makes this hand like totally keepable. Yeah, if I draw a green source, I'm going to play the Devoted Druid. Although my opponent has turn, possibly turn 3 kill here. But I also have a turn 3 kill if I draw a green source. And, maybe I just don't ever draw land and we lose, right? But that's part of the risk with keeping this hand. I feel like seeing the Cookbook should have made them go for a construct here. Titans live long against Asmo. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But 1 miss does little. Yeah, I understand. You could have mulliganed this hand. I think on the draw, the upside outweighs the downside of keeping this hand. On the draw and the blind, like not knowing that we absolutely need to like have a fast top deck here. I think that we're just supposed to keep and hope to draw lands in the first like 3 draw steps. That's I think totally fine. You're like probably over 80% too. Yeah, I think the keep is totally fine, in my opinion. Alright, down a game. Rough start so far. They bring in the Solitude, the Liberator, the Boseijus, probably the Hedge-Mage is fine. You have to imagine this matchup is also fine. I think I'm going to cut the Givers and the Kaldra. Maybe I want to cut the Shadow Spear. I don't think I'm going to want the Kaldra. Can play 1 Giver. Oh, whoops, that's Forge-Tender. Fuck. Maybe they have Anger in their deck. Okay, this is a turn 3 win. We have to play Saga on turn 1, but it's a turn 3 win. 97% didn't land. Okay, a little bit less than I thought, but still. I mean, I feel like that's a good enough number to keep on the first 3 draw steps. So we're going to use the Urza Saga to grab our Viridian Longbow. And then Eldarmy's call for Vizier to win the game. Alright, opponent killed me at turn 3, game 1. We killed them turn 3, game 2. See who takes game 3 down. I guess maybe I'm counting my chickens a little bit here, huh? Yeah, but the Viridian Longbow equipped to the Devoted Druid is infinite damage here. So my opponent needs to have like Force of Vigor or Gutshot, I guess. Gutshot doesn't even do it anymore. I guess Dismember obviously too, but they would have already dismembered. Yep. Thankfully that didn't come up, huh? Gutshot catches the Vizier, but that doesn't matter because you just make infinite mana in response. It doesn't matter if they kill the Vizier. Needle over Giver. What do you needle in this matchup? Needling Saga doesn't matter. You can needle Boseiju, but you have your own Boseijus. Needle Primeval Titan, maybe. Can imagine this matchup's fine. Like, Asmo's good against Titan. Devoted Druid combo's good against Titan. Boseiju, Hasteland. Well, we have 3 of our own Boseiju, so I don't want to needle Boseiju. Hasteland's like not that good to needle, but yeah, you can needle Clary to cut it. I don't usually bring it against Titan. I don't hate the idea though. The problem with this like hand is like Hedge-Mage is too slow to kill my opponent's turn 1 Urza Saga, right? My opponent mulled to 6. I think against a mulligan to 6, this is probably a fine keep on 7. Hedge-Mage in our Saga's awkward. Yeah, I agree. But it's also like we don't need to like. It's not super likely we get the 2-for-1 on turn 3 anyways, and we can still get it if we top deck like a Sacred Foundry or fetch land for Sacred Foundry. It's also possible I'm supposed to Saga on turn 1 because that's going to give me infinite mana on turn 3 with Devoted Druid. Yeah, I have to Saga on turn 1. They also Saga turn 1. Everybody has Saga turn 1. Just the problem with like them Saga turn 1. I guess they have to have. They didn't have Amulet. Yeah. With them not having Amulet, they're like a lot less likely to kill me turn 3. Giver isn't great either. I mean, they're gonna have Dismember in their deck. At the very least, we don't need to talk about this like one like small cyber choice to death. I think we could just. I think this is stylistic choice to some extent. Personal preference. Oh. Did I GG type that out? Alright, this is a win. Assuming my opponent doesn't have Dismember. Something like that, obviously. Oh, awesome. I thought they had it with that pause. So no Dismember, so we should be able to get Luxior off Urza Saga, kill on turn 3. Ever worked on any Yawgmoth brew? I have, yes. I've worked on a few. I don't think that the deck is solved. I think no deck in Modern ever gets fully solved, and I think that no deck in Modern that plays creature tutors with like Yawgmoth does ever gets fully solved. They Boseiju my Saga. If they Boseiju my Saga, I get to Hedge-Mage them. Kind of not the end of the world, right? I can also make infinite mana. Okay, well, I'd rather cast the Hedge-Mage, but I suppose I'll win the game. I guess I can Hedge-Mage also. What a sick top deck. Fisher with the 4 months, appreciate you. Come back. We get both the Stomping Ground. Oh, yeah, maybe Stomping Ground last turn was better. Alright. Yeah, that matchup seemed pretty good. Opponent mulled to 6. We have no fetch land. Wrenn and Six does work with the Urza Saga, though. I don't know. I think we keep. We need like cookbook to go with our Saga. Just make the bigger tokens, and then return the lands with Wrenn and Six. Is Asmo in because it's a good fetch target? Yeah, it's like really powerful to go Rocco for Asmo, and then like this gives you like a good plan B or like a good way to interact with opposing creature attacks. But Rocco also works well with the Devoted Druid combo, where I think I play Vizier. Maybe I should, no, we'll play the cookbook. We're like pretty in on the just giant token plan here. But like Rocco, like if you have Devoted Druid turn 2 and you have Rocco in your hand, then you can make 5 mana to get Vizier and have infinite mana turn 3. And then Rocco is also an infinite mana payoff. Rocco's also an infinite mana payoff for your Devoted Druid combo. And then it's also like just good to cast on turn 3 because of Asmo too. So there's just like a lot, definitely a lot going on, a lot of overlapping synergies. Do I miss Springleaf Drum in the deck? You could play Springleaf Drum. I haven't had too many spots where I have wanted it. There's the Rocco. Although I think this turn we're gonna go probably token, maybe into Rocco. Maybe discard the Vizier, maybe not. Stream Decker seems to be up. Okay, let's see if I can upload the list then. Anderson with the sorry, hold on, my screen popped up. The 5-pack, thank you so much. I get this stuff from Anderson, make sure to thank them. The Average Joe again with the 15 months, thank you. Alright, so they got a couple of rhinos, huh? I guess I'll probably discard the Vizier right now. It's kind of close. So my options are make a second Construct token, which is like way better against a bounce, and then grab Shadow Spear, versus Shadow Spear equip plus Wrenn and Six this turn. Worse against bounce. I think I'll go for the token Shadow Spear into dead the second Violent Outburst, I guess. Alright, game 3. Game 3. And a deck tech. Drum Quick Fruit. I don't have drum. Okay, bring in the Drannith Magistrates. Fortuner is probably pretty good because of the Furies. I might just do Why Are We Conceding? Because we're dead on board is why we're conceding. Could have gotten Shadow Spirit plus Rocco for Asmo. Not after I made the Urza Saga token. But we could have taken that line. Maybe that line would have ended up in a win. Let's keep this. I think I'm getting my Triumph on turn 1 here. And then we can turn to Finale for Asmo. Seems fine. This is maybe the Dryad over spot, huh? Kind of hoping that they kill my Asmo. Although it's kind of hard for them to kill having 3 toughness. Okay, Giver, Ragavan, Dreadhorde, Butcher, Croxa. Coolest. I don't know. There's some cool stuff going on. I kind of like the idea of like plus Butcher plus General Rockerick. Yeah, let me just I think Shadow Spear equip here. Beyond that, I feel like I don't like 4 Kaya's Guile. I think Kaya's Guile's not that powerful in the metagame. I also don't love playing 4, 7, 14 3-drops. I feel like that's a little high. Probably need to get that number down to like 10 maximum. Gonna have Petty Theft to my Asmo. I probably should have got Steamens, right? Because I have Yavimaya. Just ice it, it's fine. Yeah, I maybe just like want to cut all the Kaya's Guiles and find more cheap 2-mana multicolor cards. So obviously the problem is like there's no 1-mana multicolor cards. Splashing Color is pretty reasonable as well. Okay, so here this turn, what are we doing? Getting Force of Vigored, it seems. Oh, they're doing this in response to the trigger, I see. Okay, so we'll float a mana. Not a very good turn. But, you know, most turns we get Force of Vigor, and these kind of decks are not very good turns. 4 Crooks is also too many. I mean, I guess I'm just kind of stuck like you are, to be honest. I think that you're going to have to splash a color. Like blue for Omnath, or blue for Faithful Mending, or Tainted Remedy, or Tainted Indulgence, sorry. I think that the list probably doesn't work like this. Unless you just want to have, unless you're okay with like having this like awkward mana curve, then maybe that's fine. Why would we roll it for 1? Yeah, maybe Rocco for 1 for Giver is a little bit better. Sean to 5 months, appreciate you. Here, I think I'm going to discard another Rocco, kill this. Just 1 Rhino to deal with. We can Rocco for our 3rd Asmo. Never mind. We're going to cast Devoted Druid, and then we can Rocco for Vizier and hope to top deck a victory condition. 4 cards in their hand. Not a victory condition, just a Stomping Ground. Oh, dude, I had no idea Cookbook wins the game. Dude, I had no idea Cookbook's an infinite mana sink. I didn't realize it.
Hey.
Hey?
No, what happened? No.
I'm just deep in the tank. Nothing happened.
Okay, well you look like you're dooming.
I'm probably gonna lose, but what's up?
I was gonna try that rusty taco, so you want a shrimp taco or what? Beef?
That shrimp sounds good.
Shrimp? What else? What?
Yeah, they have
fried chicken, grilled shrimp.
You can pick for me. I trust you.
You want grilled shrimp or fried shrimp?
Fried.
You want pork or steak? Or brisket?
Brisket. If only I had better creatures in the yard, huh? Cookbook for Rocco, Rocco for Stoneforge. The problem is I have infinite green mana. I don't have, and I have 1 red mana. I don't have a white mana. If I had an extra white mana here, yes, we could. But I think I just have to pass. and then try to win next turn. If they Rhinos again, my plan, I suppose, is to discard my Stomping Ground, use that to gain life. Is this why Ballista's worth? Well, are you saying playing Ballista over Stomping Ground? Or are you saying playing Ballista over like Rocco? Like where are you putting the Ballista that like makes any sense here? Like the Ballista only matters for like Eldarmori's Call, which isn't like a factor at play here. Was 4 mana card a consideration? No, the card's just way too much mana. I'm kind of tired. Like, people just keep suggesting playing it in these style decks, and I'm very much not a believer. Well, that'll do. Yeah, the only time Ballista matters is when you have Eldarmori's Call and 1 extra white mana instead of 2. Yeah, we didn't need to draw this. I guess I should still go for Rocco, right? I should still go for Rocco just in case they're like slow rolling a burn spell to be a jerk. Not that I'm accusing them of doing that, but I could beat that now by going for Rocco first and discarding the Finale to gain life. Not that I think that they could be doing that, but might as well like play around something if we can, right? So the win with Rocco is Stoneforge Mystic for Viridian Longbow. I guess I have Force of Negation. So good thing we drew this Finale. They could have second Force, I guess. Is Sideboard Emrakul consideration for memes and mill? Not for memes, but for mill, yes. It's a consideration. Yeah. Just cookbook again. I didn't have the green, the red and the white mana to cookbook Rocco again though, or like a win condition off the Rocco. I can't believe we won. That's crazy. Can I get Ballista off Rocco, then get it back with cookbook? I mean, you can, but that is only like relevant when you have cookbook in play and cookbook in play and not enough white mana to go for Stoneforge Mystic. So like I don't know, that could be correct to do, and you could want to build a deck that way, but I don't know that it comes up enough for that to like actually be something you care about. Well, turn 3 win through a red removal spell is easy keep. Definitely should take another look at our creature choices with cookbook second ability in mind. I agree. I think like the Ballista suggestion is kind of interesting. I think it makes it more relevant. I don't think I'm supposed to be super scared of burn spell into burn spell. Feeling pretty good. Kind of cool to Force of Negation. It's okay. Well, going for it. If they had a Force of Negation, you would think that they would have already used it right now, right? Like, I can't imagine, like, having the attitude, I'm gonna force the second Finale, so... Like, maybe that's what's happening, but I'll be pretty surprised if that is that's happening here. Alright, GG. Okay, we're 2-1, despite, like, having... Dude, that match 1 was so painful. Like, to just be up against such a nut draw where they go turn 1 Ragavan, Amber, on the play, we go Giver, they bolt it, then they play a turn 2 Urza. So devastating. I think I have to mulligan, where it's like, we have turn 3 infinite mana, but this is just like, this hand, that part of the deck is just so awkward right now. Like, you kind of just you don't really want to draw the Asmo. And then, I actually think this is a keep. Or even if we miss our, I mean, I would probably mulligan this on 7, but even if we miss our second land, we could play a second Giver, and then we just have, you know, infinite mana with Finale Devoted Druid into Stoneforge Mystic as the kill con with 2 pieces of protection. I think it's kind of an easy keep. Obviously, like, we would love to draw land in the top 2, but definitely better than a 5, I think. Can you play this without Wrenn and Six? Wrenn is, like, I think a pretty important overlap. Worst draw step. Wrenn has, like, a lot of important overlap where, like, returns Urza Saga. And it's, like, important to, like, be able to discard lands to your cookbook for Asmo. So I think cutting the Wrenn and Six is, like, a pretty serious power level drop. Does the deck, like, literally fall apart without Wrenn and Six? No, but it is a serious power level drop. Can infinite mana into Kaldra next turn, even if we don't draw our white mana to kill with Stoneforge Mystic. Do they have outs? Karn exiling a land is pretty good here. Would Shredder be interesting in a Cascade deck? Well, you would Cascade into your Shredder, so I don't think it'd be that interesting. They get Blast Zone. Gotta expect that they have the power plant in their deck then. Fuck off, dude. Damn it. Damn it. Ugh, so painful. So, hopefully we can see if they're Eldrazi-tron or Greentron. Yeah, it's been a rough league, but we're still 2-1. We've had some good matches. It's all good. All good, baby. I guess we get the Shadow Spear, which is like a bit better if my opponent is on Eldrazi-tron. And they're on a creature-based draw. When are people suggesting Ballista for? Okay, so if you have Cookbook in play, and you have infinite mana, or I guess if you have infinite mana and you have either Eldarmor's Call or Rocco without an extra white mana to go for Stoneforge, you can go for Ballista on 0, Cookbook Ballista. Oh, Ballista on 0 for Rocco. Ballista in the hand, obviously, just for Eldarmor's Call. Is technically a way to win when you don't have that extra white mana for the Stoneforge Mystic. You don't need an extra white for Rocco to get Stoneforge. That's true, yeah, that's true. So it's just for Eldarmor's Call then. If this is Ballista, we can beat a Ballista. Yeah, Ballista is actually like kind of does nothing. I mean, it stops me from doing anything but being all in on the Kaldra, but I get to gain a huge amount of life this turn. They can maybe take next turn off the Blast Zone, but I don't think they're going to be able to erase after I gain the 6 life. And of course, like, the nice thing about Ballista too is that if they're going for Ballista right now, that likely means they don't have anything better to do next turn, at least in hand. That'll do it. That'll do it. Okay. Uga the Spirit Dragon should be mono Greentron. Either way, we're going to bring in the Boseijus, the Needle. Probably not Outland Liberator. Probably just Boseijus and Needle, not the Hedge-Mage. And then kind of down to go -1 Asmo, -1 Cookbook, -1 Giver. I just play 1 Asmo, 1 Cookbook. I think Giver protecting is more important. Yeah, I mean the Owl's Dust did kind of maybe signify Etron a little bit more. I don't know. It's close. I just like so rarely see 8 mana Ugin in Etron. I don't know. I do know I'm keeping this hand. And this may just be like turn 1 Giver, turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, Boseiju them off of Tron, try to beat down with Kaldra. That try iterations deck with 1 mana dorks or Ragavan instead of givers. I didn't try them, but I think that they're worse. Where one, like the only good thing in the entire deck is to mana dork into is turn 2 Rocco, where this deck is like all 2-drops. This deck is like all 2-drops and Rocco, where you can Finale on turn 2 for Asmo, play any of these 2-drops on turn 2, and so like Giver on turn 1 to protect your 2-drops, in my opinion, seems way more relevant. And then also when Stomping Ground, when you expand like a little bit further on that, Ragavan is not very good in a deck like this without removal spells. Ragavan is, I don't think, a card that's going to shine in most matchups. So you would play Birds of Paradise instead if you were going to play, one of these cards. You could also play Esper Sentinel over Giver, by the way, but I think Giver is a little bit better. Sentinel's kind of better with the Saga plan. Okay. Name Stoneforge Mystic, I assume. I would love to draw a land, and then this turn I could go Rocco for Asmo, and the next turn go Boseiju plus activate Stoneforge Mystic, Boseiju the Needle, although maybe I just play this as a land. I kind of think there's a decent chance they're just on Etron. Just be a bit more aggressive. Since I trimmed Asmo Cookbook, why not cut Daredevil? Yeah, maybe we could cut Daredevil. Josie Tron plays Ugin. They usually play 6 mana Ugin, not 8 mana Ugin. Yeah, but it is kind of looking more like Etron the more and more we're playing. Yeah, but yeah, it's something they can play it, obviously. It's just not very common. Warping Will Asmo. Feels so embarrassed to cut one. Obviously, just figuring out sideboard plans. So I guess we just Rocco for... Oh, Rocco's also legendary. Never mind. We'll Stoneforge Mystic for Shadow Spear, probably. Maybe Luxior. Yeah, I can get the Luxior down. It's good attack for 5. Opponent misses their 3rd land drop, also huge. Also huge. I could maybe, if I draw a land, Rocco for Devoted Druid, make infinite mana the following turn. 3rd land drop, just in Urza's Tower, though. And thankfully, no Matter Reshaper to go with it. So this is definitely a crossroads of making Saga token or Rocco for Devoted Druid. I think it's kind of easy Urza Saga token, though, to be honest. Good slotting Fiddlebender into Affinity work. I want to Fiddlebender Thought Monitor to Sundering Titan. In my opinion, that's the wrong way to build it, where to have your 2 mana 2/2 untap, to have enough affinity to cast a 7 mana affinity creature and then have a Sundering Titan in your deck, that's a bad draw. This is just too many things going right. And you are going to win most games where you untap with Fiddlebender and you cast with Thought Monitor successfully anyways. You don't need to also put Sundering Titan in your deck or have this be part of your plan A, in my opinion. I think this is probably Eldrazi Tron. I don't think that you would really ever see Green Tron keep that hand. That being said, I'm not sure how differently we're sideboarding. I think I just want to be back a bit more in on the Asmo game plan. Can maybe cut the sec. Probably want to keep the Vizier. I want to keep in the Wrenns because they brought in the Boseijus. One thing I was kind of thinking about in this deck is that you probably actually are okay 61 card specialing a decent amount of the time. because you have so many tutors. I think going to 61 cards is kind of fine. Although here I'm kind of okay. Well, I guess Kaldra's pretty good against them. They'll cut a Rocco in the draw and be on 4 Stoneforge Kaldra 61 card special. Let's keep this. Do you think that people ask for strategic advice too often on things they're obviously not good but fun? I don't know. I mean, whenever there's a comment like, you know, like there was a comment earlier, not to single this out too much, but it was their consideration for Emrakul for mill and for the memes. Like as far as like, you know, if you're motivated by the memes, like, I can't help you. You know, you can do whatever you want, but this is, you know, never like a choice I make my deck building decisions based on. But like I do think there's enough people that like, yeah, definitely Eldrazi Tron. I mean, there's a lot of in Magic like maximizing your pet deck. A lot of like maximizing your. Dude, that would have been so much better in my opening hand. A lot of you know, figuring out the best way to build a deck that you think is a little suboptimal, which is, you know, in a lot of ways just what I specialize in. Dead. I mean, we do have infinite mana, but I'm not even sure that this beats Matter Reshaper. Oh, dude. We don't actually have the win. We don't actually have the win because I don't have Ballista. Yeah, I'm gonna cycle first. Asmo. So yeah, usually I get Stoneforge Mystic for Longbow, which I can't afford to do here. Still don't have enough white mana. We don't have the one Drow Wep. One Drow Wep. Oh, Ballista also stops it, yeah. Yeah, Ballista also stops the Longbow. That's a big problem. Well, I'm actually like in really bad shape, huh? So Stoneforge Mystic can tap to activate to get me out of this, but which I need to do over the course of like 2 turns. Thank you, Trip. Appreciate you. Yeah, we've talked about Ballista. Like Ballista is good in exactly this situation, and Ballista is like a pretty weak card otherwise. Like usually, if you just need like 1 extra white mana, and it's like only really relevant for Eladamri's Call exactly. And so, you know, it was a conscious decision to omit the Ballista. I'm not 100% sure it's correct to omit the Ballista, but, you know, that's kind of something maybe you have to determine for yourself. What's the reason not play Asmo? Oh, yeah, we could have played Asmo because I forgot that we discarded it off the Triumph. That actually came up last night. So they can probably needle my Devoted Druid next turn. But I just have to call for Stoneforge Mystic. Hope we get him next turn. No, we could have Sunbaked Canyon to cast Asmo instead of casting Eladamri's Call last turn. Yeah, so we would be able to win. There's a Chalice and 1 in play, so we have to wait to untap with our Devoted Druid next turn. Why did you not call for Rocco last turn? If they had removal, they would have used it instead of Matter Reshaper, right? If I call for Rocco last turn, like what does that accomplish? I can't cast it because Rocco cost is not. I can't just Rocco into it. I didn't have enough mana. I didn't have the colored mana. Yeah, they have a Chalice, but next turn I can get around the Chalice by Stoneforge Mysticking the Longbow into play. The problem is that they have Needle, probably, but they could also naturally draw Needle, which gets shut off by the Chalice. And I do have 2 more Boseijus in the deck to draw into for the win. Was Kaldra less greedy? I don't know that less greedy is the case. I'm not sure that Kaldra's winning the game by itself this game. Thank you, sweetheart. They need a Devoted Druid, so I can't ping them infinitely anymore. I have 2 more Boseijus in the deck. I'm gonna take this hit. Oh no. I was like, that'll do. That won't do. That would have done. I didn't bring in my, maybe this was a mistake, but I didn't bring in my Outland Liberator or Hedge-Mage. Why can't I draw a card with the Canyon? They needle my Devoted Druid. I don't have infinite mana. That's the problem, chap. I don't have infinite mana. I can't activate the ability. Why can't I sack my Sunbaked Canyon? Okay. I had to right click on it, I guess. Boseiju or bust, I think. Yeah, I can still make 1 mana, I just can't make infinite mana. Okay, I concede. Thought about Ragavan in place of some calls. Ragavan's not very good in this deck. Without removal, without no cheap 1-for-1s in general. Ragavan I think is just like not without artifact synergy, is just not that good. I mean, I know Daredevil's bad unless you have Cookbook, but we also have Cookbook in the deck. We have lots of ways to tutor Asmo. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of cutting a Stoneforge Mystic. Yeah, you could also sideboard the Shadow Spear. I think that's an option too. Ballista Plate seems wrong. Yeah, I think it's, you know, the idea at least is like with Stoneforge Mystic, like you don't need the Ballista as much, and then you know it's also not like pretend like Ballista is a really good card. It's kind of an awkward card to play. Like minimizing the number of like Daredevils, Longbows, Ballistas you have to play is, I think, worthwhile. I'll think about it. We'll think about it. It is strange that the deck with so many tutors has no silver bullets. Well, you do have, you know, equipment silver bullets, and you have the Daredevil for your cookbook plan. You have sideboard silver bullets, but I also like very much think it's the case that people, when they're building their toolbox decks, they play way too many tutor targets, and then they overall diminish their consistency and they increase their consistency, but they diminish the overall power level in their deck in a way that's an unfavorable exchange. Blitz is okay versus Rag early. I mean, it's not particularly good. It's only good if you're on the play and you're supposed to spending 2 mana to kill a 1-drop. Blitz is not a good spell in this deck. It's just a combo piece, you know. No, you would never play Wish in this deck. It's just, you know, you need more synergies in your tutors, I think. Werewolf. I'll let you look for any creature with green mana. I would play a Ranger Captain over that, because Ranger Captain is more powerful. It's better against Cascade. Like, you can Eldarman's Call for Ranger Captain against Cascade. And then you can also go Rocco for Ranger Captain for Ballista. But you can also go Rocco for Stoneforge Mystic, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. So this turn, I'm pretty sure we're going to go Devoted Druid, Saga Giver. Could also go for Rocco, but that's like a degree worse into counter magic. And then they didn't have a bolt for the Wrenn and Six, so I can't imagine that they have a bolt for my Devoted Druid. They might have a counter spell for it, but that'd be okay. We consider throwing Zerda and Mantle into the deck. That was the first place we went with the Luxior deck, but you lose Rocco, you lose Urza Saga, and I think you lose Ovalchase Daredevil too. So it's like it doesn't. It's just a different deck. But we've already done that. We've already done that. It is somewhere. It's in the Stream Decker. I think that this version's better for whatever that's worth. Yeah, and you lose Vizier too. Oh, Zerda in the main deck? Well, why would you main deck Zerda? I mean, I know you have the Umbromantle combo. I don't know. It seems like not very good. Is Longbow a better card outside the combo than Ballista? I think so, because it's tutorable on Stoneforge Mystic and Saga. And so it turns Stoneforge Mystic into a tutor for the infinite mana and a tutor for the kill, which is pretty nice. Oh, we'll think about it. We'll mess around with it. Okay, they found a Null Heat. They thankfully didn't find a Murktide, though. I think I'm just making Saga tokens this turn. I only have one Asmo left in the deck. So I'm more likely to not Rocco for Asmo, but Rocco for Devoted Druid. Asmo Cookbook was kind of met in the deck. Again, we've talked about this a lot. Here's one thing, and here's like one kind of frustrating thing that happened with like the food deck too, right? Where, like, one, I disagree, but like with the food deck, there was like some criticism of people going, "Oh, Shredder's like not as good as Urza in this deck," or like the Unearths are not the good way to go, which is something I disagree with there. I actually disagree that Rocco Asmo is not a good direction to go in this deck, but at the very least, like, you have to recognize traditional Devoted Druid decks or like Urza Cookbook Asmo decks have failed in Modern, you know? Like, these decks have tried and failed to be successful in Modern, and so it's just like a little frustrating that like this is like a very it's not even this deck too or these two decks specifically. I get this kind of feedback a lot where it's like, oh, this is worse than standard version of the deck list that is not competitive in the format at all, or or like has been tried and failed many times. And like, while this may not be the way to go overall, it is also like just very much the case that neither is oh, I don't have another red source to fetch off this, which is kind of a problem. We'll just make float mana, but neither is that way. You know what I mean? And so like at least like trying the new thing, I think is really important. I don't know if I'm articulating myself really well. Hope you at least kind of get what I'm saying. So I mean they left only instants and sorcerers in the yard, which means that they definitely have another Murktide. I'm not still saying Asmo's bad deck. Was it due to overall deck's game plan? So yeah, I can talk about that. Sorry, I'm chewing my tacos. What Asmo does for the deck's overall game plan is it raises the floor of Finale of Devastation and Rocco. While Finale of Devastation and Rocco are both tutors for Vizier and infinite mana payoffs, the floor on this card is really bad because they're really inefficient to cast for 2 and 3 mana. When you flip the script on that and you put Asmo in the deck, all of a sudden this is 2 mana put an Asmo in play, 3 mana put an Asmo in play, and get a 3/1. And there's actually like a lot of overlap too with this deck where Asmo wants you to be playing Urza Saga. I think Urza Saga finds you your Viridian Longbow and your Luxier. And then Wrenn and Six works well with Asmo because you are returning a land every turn to discard. Asmo plays well with Eladamri's Call because you can Eladamri's Call for your one of Ovalchase Daredevil. Asmo gives you an interesting plan B. Asmo gives you interaction for creature decks. It does a lot here. Why didn't we make a Saga token? I didn't have a third fetchable red source in my deck. So if I made a Saga token there, we were kind of in a dicey situation against my opponent countering my first Asmo, because then I couldn't cast the second one. And they cast Murktide with 2 mana up without delving any instants and sorceries. So I'm sorry for chewing so much, but it really seemed like they had the counterspell up. I think I'm supposed to go. Sorry, ping. Discard. Kill this. Attack for 3 Saga token. Was I not worried about Bolted Asmo and discard the second? I was worried about it, but I don't think I could play around it either. Or like, I don't know, maybe I could have played around it. But I could also use one of these to put an Asmo into play too, so it's the same, right, actually. Joker with the 6 months, appreciate you. Yeah, definitely a spicy meatball, huh? Seems like it's 2 decks jammed together to fix the problem that 2 decks have. I think that is a fair criticism. You might be right, but at the very least, I think it's very interesting. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. And I'm excited to try to see if that's the case or not. I mean, that's also something I think is pretty clear. Like, Devoted Druid has problems, Asmos have problems. Rocco really ties the room together on the 2 decks. Rocco and Luxior. And, you know, we'll see like if this is an increase, a power level increase enough to make this deck more competitive overall. That's, I think, you know, the whole theory here even. I think I'm going to go for the, I think I'm going for the Wrenn and Six kill. I haven't done this yet. Yeah, this is also like a very small synergy. Attack with the Wrenn and Six. No, you could win off Rocky, Doggy. You go Rocco for Stoneforge Mystic for Longbow. That wins when you have infinite mana for Rocco. I mean, the Forge-Tenders, the Solitude, the Endurances, maybe Needle, maybe for explosives, maybe not Needle. I think I am interested potentially in just kind of moving a little bit off the Devoted Druid plan and being more of a Asmo Stoneblade deck post board. I'm trying to think if I should just like completely cut the combo. So unfortunately, it can give me Shadow Spear or Kaldra. And then Finale can find me like, it's like 3 mana for a Fortune, 2 mana for an Asmo. This is an interesting sideboard plan. This is one I think I probably need to explore a little bit more. I kind of find it's like experimental. Try this right now. I also kind of like bringing in the Needle for explosives. You have Eldarmy's Call to get the Ovalchase Daredevil in hand. Boseiju's for Moon, for Blood Moon. A lot of Murktide decks are cutting Blood Moon. They're playing, I guess they do have Alpine Moon. I only have 3 Sagas though. Keeping Stoneforge. I'm trimming 1 Stoneforge because I only have 2 equipments post board. I think that with only 2 equipments, I want to cut 1. Maybe you're right though. Maybe just still play full 4. Just have this be like a Kaldra bust. Although I think it might be interesting to have like 1 more equipment in the sideboard for games like this where you side into like this more grindy value deck against like Murktide and Hammer Time. What's up? It's me, your friend, Aspiring Spike. Okay, I can keep this. Dude, Rindle Limbic Cap subbed Endurance for Relic. I would play Soulguide Lantern over Relic since, well, I guess Exile in your own yard. You can play around with Daredevil. It's a little awkward with Wrenn and Six though. Might be fine. No Lantern.
What's up?
No, I don't usually like Lantern very much against Ragavan. No. Like the thing is, like, you could play like a Relic against them. Maybe we should have a Relic. I know this is, twice we're bringing it up in the course of a couple seconds. Yeah, I don't think I'm playing around Moon. But the fact that you kind of have to like preemptively exile your opponent's graveyard with Lantern and then you don't get to draw a card off of it is a really big problem. Our decks like this against Mill, not very good. Like, we have Endurance though, like kind of incidentally good against Mill. So I don't think that you need to play a hate card for it. Okay, they do have Magus. If I draw one more land, I can Cycle Garden, cast Asmo, kill Magus over the course of a couple turns, and there's one more land. Think there's a decent K command snap control deck in the format? No. Probably not, at the very least. I don't know. Like, this is also kind of the thing, right? This is like the painful truths of competitive Magic is, people always want to play the Snapcaster Kolaghan command Siege Rhinos. They always want to play the sweet cards, and they don't want to play the cards that are more competitive or work a bit better, lower mana curve. Yeah, the hero cards. And at the very least, like, I would, if your goal is to just be competitive, I would just try to like frame your mindset away from finding a deck that gets to play your favorite cards, as opposed to finding a deck that is really competitive in the archetype that you enjoy. That being said, if your goal is to just cast the Siege Rhinos, cast the hero cards, then by all means don't let me stop you. But if your goal is to just, find the best deck in your archetype, starting with the point of, I want to play this card because it's sweet, is a pretty bad place to start off. And I say this as someone who, when I sold out of my collection like 5 or 6 years ago, and I bought back in like 2 years ago, the very first thing I bought was a playset of Snapcaster Mages that I have barely used. Let's go to game 3. We also have, our Plains Forest, which should let us play around this somewhat easily. Solitude helps us beat Magus. I don't think I'm bringing a Boseiju. Obviously, this is Magus too. Is Tedra Agent of Bolas a hero card? It is, yeah. It's... I don't know. It's for the grindy matchups, huh? Rocco plus Bard class equals Green Sun Zenith. That's pretty cool. Okay, this turn we're gonna go... Or this game we're gonna go, I think, Sacred Foundry into Basic Forest. Yeah, I think that I want to flesh out this like transformative cut the combo sideboard plan a bit more, and then Hound Tamer. I'm not familiar with this card. Hmm. 3 mana, 3/3, trample, put a counter on target creature. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe that card's better than Ballista. Although I guess one issue with it is it loses to like a chump blocker on your Devoted Druid, so it's probably not better because of that. If I had to guess. Alright, just gonna hold up the Eldarmy's Call here. Pretty good chance that Eldarmy's Call for Rocco, but we'll just see what my opponent does. Shalai used to be good in the deck. Yeah, I really don't think you want Shalai. Where, like, if you have a white mana and you're able to, like, use a white creature as your win condition, you can just use Stoneforge Mystic, because Stoneforge Mystic gets you Longbow. Then not having to play a goofy 4 mana creature, I think, is good. Yeah, again, the issue is we're Ballista is a creature that wins when you don't need any extra colored mana, which is really important, I think. I was definitely very, very torn on the decision point. The Wild Heart Invoker, baby. If I grabs a lightning bolt, I imagine my giver is dying then. And then I think we're just gonna grab Rocco. Rocco Sacco. Ooh, pretty bad draw step. Gonna be fine, I guess. It's not a meme. It's +5/+5 to any target and trample for 8. Yeah, what card is it? Wait, is that that's the 1 mana spell? Do they have subtlety? This can't be the best. This can't be the best option. It's gotta be worse than Ballista, right? No food, just +1. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we should have made a food, then returned the land. I was busy trying to read Wild Heart Invoker. Use a Magistrate with 1 land in the field or no 1 mana cards. Think you may bed for it? No. I think 1 mana spells are great. I think that starting the game with the land in play, no 1 mana spells is just a way to get like goofy battle cruiser magic. It's all about like 3 and 5 mana spells slamming into each other. Yeah. The whole idea behind not playing the Ballista is that Ballista is like a pretty underpowered card in this archetype, and you could just use Stoneforge Mystic, which is a powerful card of this archetype instead. Is like the thought process. So we're gonna bottom the Rocco. Magic Online doesn't tell you if they kept on top or bottom. I wish that it did. Maybe I'll actually get Forge-Tender off the Rocco now. Because I just have an Asmo in the hand. Forge-Tender seems kind of nice here. It doesn't say if they use the ability or not. It just says they activated it. I can also emblem Eldarmri's Call, which is certainly something. I don't know if it's something good. If it just says activated, it's on top. Okay. Okay. I don't know why they didn't bomb the Rocco. I don't know. Legit with the 2-pack. Appreciate you. Welcome back. Which cards would like to see unbanned in Modern? I think just Bridge from Below. I think Bridge from Below being banned in the first place was just a joke. Like, the fact that they decided to ban Bridge instead of Hogak or Faithless Looting first was just, like, ridiculous. I think like, Bridge was a pretty unfair banning. Lichen, keep posting the Decklist in chat. No, people who want Green Sun Zenith unbanned, you're heroes. You would only use Green Sun Zenith for good. I understand. You would only use Green Sun Zenith for good in your terrible Knight of the Reliquary decks. But there are people who would use Green Sun Zenith for evil. And they would put Green Sun Zenith in Primeval Titan. And for 1 mana, they could get Dryad Arbor. And then for 3 or 4 mana, they could get Dryad of the Elysian Grove. And they could get Collector Roof and Primeval Titan and Cultivator Colossus and Azusa. And They would use Green Sun Zenith for evil, so we have to stop them from using it for evil by leaving it banned. Right, John to mid-range and Pioneer. I'm a big hater of Blood Tithe Harvester. I think this card is like pretty weak, especially like with no like artifact synergies, no vampire synergies. That being said, if the goal is to have an extra creature to sack the Ob, that's fine. But I don't know. Like I also like this deck. Like these numbers just like generally look to me like they lack focus. Like I can't imagine wanting to play a deck like Jund Midrange and Pioneer and not want to play 4 Riveteer's Charm, 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But like this is like I don't know. It's very much not my style to play this many 2-ofs. I feel like I personally, if I was going to play Jund, I would cut the Harvesters. I would play the 4th Underdog, 4th Trespasser, 4 Riveteer's Charm. I would play maybe 0 Chariots, just trying to be lower on the curve, or maybe 1 Chariot, maybe just 2 Decay, so you can play the 4th Fable. But I would definitely play the 4th Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I don't know, like Chariot copying your Ob token is just like not a good game plan, because if you're attacking with Chariot, you're winning. If you have a big Ob token, you're winning. Like, trying to have any kind of like cohesive game plan that involves both, I think, is just incorrect. So I'm trying to Elodarmi's call for Daredevil here. Would Cletus be better 4-drop? I don't think Cletus is a very good main board 4-drop in Pioneer. I think it's an okay sideboard. I also don't think that you need a 4-mana spell, especially in a deck with 4 Fable, 4 Riveteer's Charm. You have a lot of card advantage there. And Riveteer's Charm does want your mana curve to be lower in general. So, yeah, just not of the opinion that you need to play any 4-drops. My opponent has Archmage's Charm. Mana base looks pretty good, though. I think it looks very well thought out. So we'll trade Asmo for Rocco. And they get another turn with Jace. But we have a Rimblem and an active Wrenn, I think. I'm assuming. And another Cookbook. Or it's probably better to play the Stoneforge Mystic, actually. Painful on the life total, though. Maybe play just one Chandra as the 1 4-drop over the Chariot. I would play I think at least 3 Go Blank in the sideboard. You can also main deck a Hearse in this list pretty easily too. Maybe cutting the Obs. Yes, bless you, sweetie. We're both really congested. We've been testing negative for COVID. We don't think it's COVID. That's always where everybody's brain goes. Well, I don't know what the culling rituals are for in Pioneer. But I want to see 3rd Go Blank, maybe 1 Hearse main, 1 Hearse side. I want to see, I think, more Noxious Grasps. I like that card a lot. The 3rd Noxious Grasp. Yeah. The one time I had COVID, I tested negative, but I did have it. But I've also had it before. It doesn't really feel like it. I don't know. Maybe it's the asbestos of the walls. Culling Ritual hits Junsack and Monterey. I think that's it. Yeah, maybe that's fine. I feel like those decks are so underrepresented, though, that I don't think you need dedicated hate cards for them. Jace bounce Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. Play a 6/6 Murktide. So we go Return a Land, Elodarmi's Call for Asmo. And I think I play Asmo before I play 2nd Cookbook, because if Asmo is going to get countered, I think I need to play Stoneforge Mystic over 2nd Cookbook, and I can't tap the Canyon. And I have a fortune to protect this from a possible burn spell. No Dryad Arbor for ramp. We've talked about Dryad Arbor to death in tons of these spots. If you're gonna Rocco for 0 or Finale of Devastation for 0, you're gonna get Asmo 9 times out of 10. And you just have to ask yourself, do you think that 1 time out of 10 is worth the downside of drawing Dryad Arbor? Because I personally hate drawing Dryad Arbor. But if you think that 1 time out of 10 will be worth it, then... dude, they're hold on, wait, what? They're stealing Asmo. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, this line definitely didn't play very well around Asmo steal. And now we're dead to Jace minus. No, we're not dead to Jace minus because we can Forge-Tender the Asmo and then sack a food. But we're definitely in bad shape. When I kill Asmo, if I didn't have the ability to make the other food because the second cookbook was on the stack, but if I could have activated Asmo, I would kill the Murktide Regent. Put 2 cards in hand. But it is the symbiotic nature, the symbiotic relationship of the streamer and the streamee, where chat gets to suggest Dryad Arbor. They get to sound very smart and clever when they suggest Dryad Arbor. And then I, as a streamer, have to register Dryad Arbor and then lose games for drawing it. It's just a painful situation to be in. Okay. Yeah, I think we get the Asmo instead of the Rocco. Losing to a counterspell here. Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed, no counterspell. Okay, Dress Down is not a counterspell. They surveil Steve Vincent's yard, then they draw a card. So I can bring back a land, Eldarmy's Call for Solitude, but it's probably just better to go ping this, kill this end of turn, and then gain 3 life. And that's instead of playing a Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, this has been an awesome game. Win or lose, really, really good match. I will say, like, this has been a very intense competitive league. Ultimately, I think the record for your first league with the deck doesn't matter so much as just evaluating how it feels overall. And it has definitely felt like powerful and like there's room for improvement potentially too. I have a question about coming back into MTG. Is that your question? I can answer perhaps.
Hey, real quick. I think I figured out what this shirt is.
Is this something we want to talk about on stream?
Yeah, I think it's for like Zoom meetings with a camera.
No way. So okay, my friend Madison, who did the emotes for the channel, she ordered this shirt, or it was delivered, and
It's not a real shirt.
And it's not a real shirt. It's just like the top of one. And we kind of assumed it was like a stripper shirt.
I thought it was going to go underneath a sweater.
Okay, my opponent XL Murktide Regent, so I can't block. I think. I know that to bolt. So we thought it was like a stripper shirt, but Esther thinks it's for Zoom meetings.
Maybe. Or maybe it is for under a sweater. But it's just not a real shirt. But I think so, because when you just do this, like, see? You just see. But what's the point? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, you may never know. Okay, so I do think a big priority here is going to be gaining life. Although maybe I could just go Rocco for Forge-Tender, actually. Yeah, Asmo kill Murktide, Rocco for Forge-Tender. I'm wearing the same kind of shirt right now. Yeah, those kind of shirts are kind of risky with the standing desk, unfortunately. Although, hold on, if I go Rocco for Forge-Tender... Yeah, I can go Rocco for Forge-Tender. If they counter this, then I can go Eldarmer's Call for Solitude off the Wrenn and Six. We had a very healthy and happy 2 life. The Ragavan. I'm returning back, and I know I can't use old cards, but I was wondering if I could start a new deck, which format will allow me to upgrade that deck as new sets come in without having to make a new one. Probably this format is a good answer for that, either Modern or Pioneer. The format I'm playing now is Modern. I also play a lot of Pioneer on the channel, but those decks are non-rotating. But they do change a lot, so you'll have to update them. You'll have to update your decks sometime. You can't just play the same 75 forever. Yeah. A lot of looks at a Bolt or a Ragavan here. They also have less than 2 minutes on the clock, although I can't imagine that it's going to come down to that. Considers. It's my favorite deck for a Modern. I'm not sure. I've been really liking the Asmo Food Turns deck. That deck's been like a real just treat to play. I'm also like always like personally most interested in like the new brews I'm working on. Like that's always like where my head is. So like right now I'm like, this is the deck I am the most interested in. I don't think it's the best deck, but it's very this deck is really interesting to me. I've been working on it for a long time. Oh, dude, they don't have Bolt, they don't have Ragavan. And they also only have 1 minute left on the clock. They do also have an 8/8 Murktide. Shoot. I only have 1 Solitude in the deck. I can attack if they block. I kill Murktide. They're just never going to block, though. And then I can go Solitude for Endurance. Still dead to Bolt, not dead to Ragavan. Oh, Cookbook for Solitude. Cookbook for Solitude, gain life. Get Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear doesn't give me enough life. I think this is the line. I always forget this has this ability. I think we gain the life so we don't die to Bolt. And keep this back to not get hit by Ragavan. Shadow Spear gains 10. No, it's the Murktide deals damage to itself. Murktide deals damage to itself. Asmo doesn't deal damage to the Murktide. Oh, but I could Asmo myself to gain the life? That doesn't seem correct though, right? There's no way that's the right line. They're not going to block, get through for 4, then Asmo shoots herself. Yeah, I think this line's better, but yeah, that is a line to keep in mind, for sure. Didn't see it. 26 seconds on the clock. 20 seconds. I always find that my opponents are way more likely to time out when I'm playing a new brew, just because they like, it takes some time to soak it all in, but I think they've timed out. I will concede if I somehow can be convinced I'm 0% to win, but I don't know how that could happen when they're timing out before they're even passing. Or, 3 seconds left on the clock. Lightning Bolt on the stack, baby. Just gonna get into life though. Couldn't even resolve in time. Okay, 3-2 first league with Rocco. I think it was 4-1 in my practice league last night. I think what I'm gonna do, I think this is a good stopping point. That was an awesome last match. I think I'm going to sleep on it, see if we can improve the list a little bit. I'm kind of interested in developing, one, the sideboard plan where we side out the Devoted Druid combo, just be more of an Asmo food grindy deck post board, and then two, probably trying to find room for the Ballista in the main deck. I wasn't sure because Ballista again is only good when you're like choked on white mana, but we were choked on white mana like 2 times, which I think is enough times to won it. We would have beat the Eldrazi matchup if we had it. But that is going to be all for me today.